Living the good fat life with your host Karen and Sherri. They'll help everything align for your body, soul, and mind. The good fat life, whether change comes slow or dramatically. The good fat life will help you sort things out organically.
Every time I try not to laugh, and I laugh every single time, Sherri. Hi.
It's just soothing. Hey, how are you?
Yeah, thank you, Wally Pleasant, for that great
for that great song. And here we are again. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. What episode is this?
I don't know.
Johnny, what episode is this? Do you know? 49.
49.
Wow. 49.
Wow. It was just funny coming over here this morning too. It's that when we first started, if we were at the studio like an hour before, we were like, and
Right.
now it's like, okay, we're good. We're
Yeah.
good. We got this.
Well, I feel like we've recently shifted over to like this feels supernatural and we're just completely just talking. But before it was like, well, how do I hold my hands? Like, how do I talk?
Yeah.
Like, but it feels so natural and good, right?
Yeah, it does. And I want your dress.
Oh, thank you.
I need that dress.
You
in
know
my
me.
life.
I'll give it to you if you're welcome to borrow it. Thank you.
So today, as we continue on our good fat life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go back to in this magazine, this issue of the April issue, which you can find
At goodfatlife.com.
at goodfatlife.com, or you can scan the QR code on the screen and get the digital copy. We have our journey on our self-care roadmap, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to look at the 8 types of self-care, right?
Okay,
We're going to continue
sure.
on that. And it seems to be, I don't know about you, but I'm finding the topic of self-care actually called out everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Everywhere.
because people are thinking of it differently. Yeah.
Right. And so we are going to continue on that journey. And so that said, Karen, you want to introduce our
Speaking
guest?
of journeys,
Yeah.
we have our lovely retreat goddess that's going to take you on a transformative journey. Julie Palmer. Thank you for being here, Julie.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Sherri.
Yeah.
I have been looking forward to this for weeks, and thank you for the time that I get to spend with you to talk about all the juiciest things in life.
Oh, thank you.
And let's go. Where are we going to travel?
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. Well, you tell us. Tell us about like what you do and how you started. Like start from the beginning.
Well, certainly. Thank you. Followed my bliss after 25 years in the corporate world. Said, nope, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm a different person. And said yes to my dreams, which 5 years ago, was all about events, creating experiences by bringing people together in a live event. And took that bold leap to go in that unknown space of I'm going to start a business. And it's been a joyful, amazing ride. And with so many people last year, we lost everything.
Dude, I think, Julie, can you get a little closer to your mic? You're cutting in and out.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to hear every juicy detail.
Yeah, there you go.
Cozy friend. So I was faced with, okay, what do I do now? I've just lost everything. I knew 2020 was going to be my biggest year yet. How many other people thought that, right? In the restaurant industry, the events industry, concerts, you name it, right? And it all went away. And so, wow, what now? But I also knew my dream was still worth it, right? My dream was still worth it. So how do I create something new from everything that had just disappeared? And what I found through that mess of the deconstructedness of my business was something that became and still is far more expansive, far more joyful, a better use of who I am and my creative gifts. And that's all about doing retreats and creating much more intimate opportunities for women to travel intimately to some of the most beautiful places on earth, to experience a shift inside themselves while in these beautiful, exquisite places. That's what I'm all about now.
Wow. How did that come to you? Where does that come from? Did you always know that about yourself?
I've been a student of transformation for a number of years, and it all began when I took the leap to start my business. And I know now in the depth of who I am, I won't create anything on the outside if I don't do the inside work.
So
That's
talk. I
beautiful.
mean,
Yeah.
so I'm going to stop you for a second. So student of transformation, tell us.
Yeah, what
does that mean to you?
For me, it's okay. I have a great life. I'm happy. My family is healthy. Things are great, but I want something even better. And the shift happened when my husband and I, we signed up because a friend asked us to attend a transformational training program. And I just signed up because a friend suggested it, right?
What
I had
is
no
what is
expectations,
that?
right?
I don't even know what that is.
So people may know words like Life Spring and Landmark, right? There are some training programs out there that really speak to, we're not training you in how to do something, right? This is about how do you show up in your life where you are identifying what are those limiting beliefs that have been holding you back from not just having a great life, but having an absolutely extraordinary life. And that's a really great conversation to be in, right?
Yeah,
because,
it's giving me the shivers.
right, and we are embracing the world of mental wellness, right, and mental health so beautifully now, and that's like where you work to get back to balance, right? But what I'm talking about is from there, right, from that space of I'm in balance now, but I am headed to
go even farther.
extraordinary,
Oh, wow,
right, and so to be able to identify what has been holding me back and to work on clearing that away in a safe space with people who hold you high and are there with the clear intent for you to have a transformation. It was exquisite, beyond any expectation I ever had. I got to know myself more deeply, more joyfully. I saw my husband in a whole new way. We have created a network of lifelong friends who are my family, and they've seen me at the raw and vulnerable place where I got to be in order to transform. And ever since that, I have been a student of this work because I know the worth of it. I know the value it brings me. And I think that the biggest shift is I'm no longer operating from situations and circumstances, right? We're all going to have things show up that try to throw us
Not
off
a
course,
reaction.
right?
Not a reaction. Yeah.
I now get to operate from, I'm the source of everything that happens in my life, right? Another coach calls it radical responsibility, right? How can I show up in a way that says, I own my life, absolutely everything in it, and that really helps shift when the awful stuff happens, like losing my business. I can show up in a different way.
Because it's going to happen, right? I mean, it just is the
gonna
world
happen.
we live. It's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Right.
Stuff's going to happen.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's
And when you know we're
Right.
not in control,
Right.
there's something
Right.
beyond. That's sort of transformative as well, because you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I just gotta kind of flow with it.
That's right. And,
Yeah.
and you can surrender to everything that's happening around you in a way that keeps you from reacting and going into this, oh, I'm a victim now, and look at how awful it is.
Right.
No, it's happened. Okay, what now?
Let's get
Right?
curious about
Yeah.
what this means.
It's so
Curiosity.
funny.
Yeah.
I just
Curiosity,
I had
yes,
that conversation
Karen.
on my way over here with someone who's struggling, and that was I just said, get curious.
Yeah.
Instead of like I'm overwhelmed or I'm
Yeah.
this, it's like get curious.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
How
And when
can-
you fail, you failed. How wonderful for you.
Oh,
You didn't,
yes,
yeah. What does that
please.
mean? What does that mean? Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
and it sounds it can sound like trivial or trite or just like platitudes in its way. And the truth is it makes a huge difference.
Only
does.
every day, only
Right.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So anyways, okay, so you
Well, curiosity.
right?
That's perfect.
That's the big
Yes.
Yeah.
I stayed in a curious place and ended up deciding one day I was going to play on my laptop and just see where it took me. I had one idea in mind based on something I'd read about a woman doing something really fun around style and fashion in Paris. I know that. But how...
that sounds inviting.
Oh, right?
And you had me at
Oh.
Style and Fashion in Paris.
I'm
Yeah.
there with you.
Yeah, for
absolutely.
sure. Yeah.
I went on this beautiful, magical journey down the rabbit hole, looking at French castles and other French chateaus and suddenly landed on the most beautiful French chateau in southern France, in the Côte d'Aron region, where my favorite wine comes from. Yes, right?
Right.
And I stopped. And I first looked at that, and my soul said, I need to be there. How do I get there? At first, it was from the space of traveling with my family, right, as a consumer.
Right.
And then the lightning bolt hit. And the absolute sudden realization that, oh, there are enough bedrooms. 12 people could be in this beautiful chateau. What does that mean? And from there, the whole concept of retreats, luxury retreats, transformative retreats, the download happened so fast, I felt dizzy. And I had my very first retreat completely planned with the 5-day itinerary, blocked out. I knew exactly where we were going to go, how far it was to get to the French Riviera, because, oh yeah, we're going to splash in those waves.
Yeah, for
right?
sure, yeah.
And which wineries are friendly to groups from the U.S., because that's a serious conversation, right?
Yeah,
About how
sure.
not to show up as that awful American,
Yeah, right.
right? It flowed in a way I haven't experienced, even at the height of the best events I ever produced.
Wow.
Yeah. And I went all in. From there out, I said, you know what? This is where I want to be. It's more joyful. It's more expansive. It's where the revenue that I know I deserve is coming from. It is where I get to significantly impact other women, especially. And that's who I want to play with.
Oh, I love
I know.
that.
When I first was introduced to Julie and read what you do, it's like, well, just sign me up. Just sign me up for all of them.
Yep.
Where do you want to go?
Right.
Let's
yes.
do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It just sounded so much fun. So,
And you probably just, when you see these things, I think this is the key people don't get. Like, you saw the castle and you're like, logistically, you thought about only a tiny bit and you're like, no, I'm going to get there. And then everything sort of fell into place because you were telling the universe, get me there.
Yes, exactly.
And it came to you, right? It wasn't like, oh, I got it. How am I going to get the airport? You didn't get bogged down. You're like, get me there. And
Precisely.
then it flew right. It flowed right into your brain.
Absolutely. Because the phrase I can't never, ever showed up. And I believe in this so passionately that our thoughts are the most powerful thing that we have working for us. And I didn't just have that whole concept, that retreat show up, right? I have a whole business now, right? I became the retreat goddess. That came to me, that name. And I've done so much work to rebirth myself as this brand. And I can tell you, I am being called to elevate in my life in ways that I didn't even expect, already knowing that transformation was a thing, right? That I was in for the long haul. But now everything that has been transpiring for my highest good is showing up in ways that are more delicious and more joyful than I ever could have possibly imagined.
How beautiful. And here's the thing. It shows up in everybody's life every day. The thing is, if you're aware and you see it, right?
That's exactly right.
Even if it seems negative or positive, it's always there. That's like Buddhists said, they believe everything you need is already in your environment. And that's true.
It is.
Always. Yeah. You became aware. Wow.
So let's talk about, so where do people start? It's like we're coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
14 months of pretty much lockdown. And in fact, we still can't go to Canada, but we're hoping that will be lifted soon.
I have a best friend in Windsor I haven't seen.
Yeah, well, I've got grandkids.
Oh, Sherri.
Yeah, we had a granddaughter's birthday last week, and it's the second one we haven't been able to be there for. But I will have to say, it's the kids are so resilient, and we talk on FaceTime all the time, and that's been amazing. Because 10 years ago, or there wasn't FaceTime, and so it's so resilient, and so anyways, we're looking forward to that. So what are you kind of seeing now that things are changing or opening up a little bit?
The hunger that people are experiencing to get out and to travel, just to simply beyond where they had to shelter in place for so many months, it is palpable. And we're seeing across the travel industry how that industry is responding already. You can't book a cruise next year. They're already booking into 2023.
Wow.
Right? And we're seeing airline prices go up by about 20% right now. So we're seeing the supply and demand game play out as well. And I am desperate for certain countries to open up, right? Because I already have retreats planned in other parts of the world, and they're on hold right now. And so I can't wait. I can't wait to nourish this need, to feed this hunger that is out there.
Yeah.
And the reality is, a lot of people lost a lot of money last year too, right? So Sherri, we talked about this earlier. How do we help people create some sort of experience that takes them, even in their mind, away from where they sit right now? I think that's the beginning of that wanderlust.
Right. And it doesn't, so I just, full disclosure, got back from being gone for 3 days up north in Michigan, right, which was absolutely gorgeous. And one of the things that was a real challenge is not enough staff. And so places, there's the desire for people to go, but there's not enough people to do the work. And so places are opening back up, and they don't have enough staff. And so you can feel it. That part was interesting as well. And so we just have to be really patient, and which is fine. I mean, it was my husband and I, but it would have, if it was my husband and I and the grandkids, or we were a younger family, it's a whole different challenge, right? It's a different thing. So yeah, we were kind of talking about things that we could do to shake it up, even without leaving home. So thoughts, where do we start?
Well, one of the ways I encourage people, and this could be perceived as a little more complex, but I'm still going to say, anytime you can connect with somebody from a different country, they may be visiting your hometown, right? We're really close to some great university towns, and so they attract people from all over the world. So how could you bless your family by creating a new friendship with somebody who comes from the opposite side of the world, right? So there's that, right? And I grew up with my family always hosting somebody. As a little girl, we had friends from Japan, friends from Saudi Arabia, friends from Iraq. We enjoyed food together, right? I think the power of food to connect people is so absolutely exquisite.
Right.
And especially understanding that we are in this global Instapot of such juicy influence, and that is one way that you can experience some other place and other people.
And I had never thought about that till you mentioned it, because we always had exchange students. We were host families. As an adult, we had at least a dozen kids from Scandinavia and Japan, and I will never forget. It was one of the Japanese students' birthdays, and we were in Portland at the time at a place called Farrell's, and they
had it
I
here.
remember
Farrell's.
Farrell's.
Did they
I
have
love
it?
Farrell's, yeah.
And they'd have that, the
Big
giant
the
sundae
big-
with the plastic zoo animals on it. I will never forget this young, she was probably 12. No, she would have been older than that, maybe 15, 16. And in high school, and standing there watching this ice cream running around. I mean, it's just because it was so foreign.
Yeah.
Or the exchange students in prom, because I think America's the only country that has prom, right? And just that whole thing. It was, but you're right. I just really had not thought about what a treasure that is, and it's right here.
Absolutely. And there are opportunities for our children to travel,
Right.
right? And so there's an organization called People to People. They take 13-year-old kids around the world.
Yeah.
And the whole intent truly is world peace, because I believe it was Eisenhower's granddaughter who started this. The belief is that when you connect authentically with somebody else who's just like you on the other side of the world, you are never, ever going to be in conflict with them.
Right. And that energetically connects. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that goes back
absolutely.
and forth. That's beautiful. Also, I'd like to say that I think it's important to befriend like older people as well, because they can take you on a different journey of like the past, even if they're not from a different country.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
My next door neighbor, rest his soul, he's now departed. But he grew up in, what did they say? The British Empire, the sun never sets on the British Empire, right?
Yeah,
so
something
he's
like that.
from that era where he, as a small child, emigrated from India to Britain. He flew in the Royal Air Force in World War II.
Wow.
He ran a plantation in South America. This man had so many exquisite tales about his life, and he was my next door neighbor,
Right.
right?
Think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I missed the times that we would sit on his front porch and just talk the day away.
About it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and reading is another way. That's what I love to read. It's a big joke in our household.
Her Christmas tree was made out of books.
Books.
I love that, Sherri. Oh, I love that.
So, but fortunately, my grandkids love to read as well, and so that's been really cool. But you can go, like, you can travel. I mean, that's part of the reason, the joy of reading too. You can go anywhere. Right?
Absolutely. And how beautiful is it with what's available now through the internet, right? For families to create this otherworldly experience in their own home, right? And I absolutely love that. My husband, in his own work with students right now, is doing that for a summer program. And they've got little fake passports and little stamps, and they're going to be really exploring different countries around the world. And there's a way to really, truly experience that with food, with music, right? With the photos, with videos. And especially if there is somebody who's a neighbor nearby who can fill in the blanks with real experiences and real stories.
Right. Right. It is. It just takes being intentional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Be intentional.
On Monday, the kids are going, I'm going to have the kids, and I said, why don't we just like be urban explorers on Monday? Like, let's just hit Detroit and go see what we can see. And that we're like super excited about it. We're just like going to do it and go different places. And it feels like we're going to be, getaway. So
I love
excited
that.
about that. Yeah.
And Detroit's such a cool city. I mean, being not being from Detroit, I just find that it's such a cool city because it's so rich, rich in history and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, architecture and food and cultures
And
and
so much more than
music.
anybody even knows. Like, you
Right.
can't even be, there's so much to explore. Like, it's beyond any of our expectations. Yeah.
I worked downtown for 20 years.
Did you?
And I feel
Yeah.
like I only scratched the surface. It is an amazing
Rich
city
with
with
history.
amazing people who are so proud. I love our city of Detroit so much.
Yeah.
Not to mention like the outer areas, the surrounding areas, like Hamtramck. Talk about going to travel, go to Hamtramck, right? The food and the people, it looks different.
Or Dearborn.
Or Dearborn, yeah.
Right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways,
So there's lots of
there's
places to
so
go.
many things to do, and
Yeah.
the weather's just been amazing.
Yeah.
So
But I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about, so I think it's really important too, when you resonate towards an area, like right now I'm really resonating towards South Africa for some reason. It keeps coming up in my daily life from different people, to really ask yourself, what is it about that place that's calling me and why? Is it like generational? Is it ancestry? Why am I wanting to go there? And explore that, get curious about that. That's exciting, right?
I love that because when you are from that curious space, where will that end up, right? The beauty and the mystery of that. I love that so much. And I find that anytime I meet somebody new, I'm in that same curious space. But yes, Karen, how do you follow that and explore it and even go inward while you're looking outward, right?
Yeah.
At everything that is beautiful about that place that is calling you.
Yeah.
And it can be life-changing. It can be life-changing because I've heard stories of people who say, I just knew I needed to go there. I didn't even know why, but they trusted themselves enough.
that's how I was with India. And my husband had no desire to go. I don't know. I didn't know anybody who had a desire to go, right? But I did, kind of like you in South Africa. And it happened, and it was magic. And the part that I think is so cool is by being there with like no expectation. I just like you said, you just trust. You show up. The group people show up. They'll be my friends till I die.
Absolutely.
Right, and beyond. Who knows? But you have had experiences that now just things happen. Somebody says something, an experience. You hear about COVID in India. That richness. Well, like our cover, you know, our cover. Tammy, she's Sikh and is.
She worshipped it. She worshipped in the Golden Temple.
Yeah,
as a child.
As a child,
my.
she went to places that we were meditating, and so it was like an instant connection. Or I got to hear from her. To your point, tell me what that was like for you, because now I have a perspective.
Yes.
And she gave me such a different perspective than my perspective.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the other part that's beautiful too. You just keep building on it,
Yeah.
right?
And speaking of perspective, they always say when you're thinking, say you're thinking romantically about like a mate, like trying to like conjure up a mate, your perfect mate or whatever, there's somebody somewhere thinking of you at the very same time, conjuring you up. And maybe you're being called to these places because a child is conjuring up a beautiful mother, or a lover's waiting for you, or somebody's sad that needs you in another part of the world is summoning you in a way. And like, that's really curious to me. Like, there might be somebody there that's somehow waiting for me, and they don't even know it's me, and I don't even know it's them.
But yet
And it might be a child.
But there's
or, But yeah, there's there's some draw, and it might be the soil or the history or whatever it is. But isn't that's fascinating too? Like,
Absolutely.
who's there that's needing me as well?
That's how I found my oldest son.
Oh, tell us about that.
So Zali is 25 now. He came to our family at age 19, but he started looking for his forever family at age 12.
And where did he live?
From the Detroit area.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But he made a declaration, right? I want a forever family. And he never stopped looking. 14 different placements. That could derail anybody, especially a child, right?
Were you foster parents, or how did you find
He
him?
had already aged out of the system. We met him through school. Our son and he were in a drama program together.
Yeah.
And he stayed true to what he knew he wanted most in this world. And that's how he found us and how we found him. And it wasn't, 14 different placements, right? There was nothing victim about that. It was, no, it took 14 steps. But look, because you never stopped, you never gave up. We are magic number 15. Welcome home,
Isn't
son.
that so cool?
I love that.
That is.
Yeah.
That
And if he
is-
wouldn't have gone through all that, he wouldn't have found you.
Yeah.
And it's it's just.
I think we're
and
making
so
Johnny
it's-
cry.
I think it's just so inspiring. Again, right? We had a family that showed up in our lives when I was 16, right? And they had. I always wanted lots and lots of brothers and sisters, a big family, and it just didn't happen that way. But they had 5 kids, and I was the oldest. And so I got to, and still, Father's Day is Sunday. He's my bonus dad. And that's, decades later, that's all changed. And there's something magic about that. It's a bonus family. And wow, I just never thought about that, how
There's certain people that just belong to you. Like growing up, we had a family that lived behind us. The two teenagers had a son, and the grandma was taking care of him most on the weekends and stuff. And they would walk around the block, and we just adopted the son, and now we've adopted the grandma, and she's 96. And they're just, they're not our blood, but they belong to us, and they almost belong to us. And they have other family and everything, but they almost belong to us in more of in a way. It's like they're our soul tribe or something, and we don't even know why. And it's not always like wine and roses, but we're like, we're rolling up our sleeves with you. We don't. You're ours. You're here, and that's it. It's it's so beautiful. Yeah.
Life is beautiful that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's magical. So tell us about your retreats. What are they? Because you have so many different gifts. So first of all, I want to hear about your retreats and how you plan them and what people can expect and about the future. And then I also wanted to talk about your different talents, because people don't realize there's different laws like in Florida and all that stuff.
The scary world of cellar of travel laws.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to start with the travel laws, and then we'll go into the other stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize when I declared this new dream for myself and started building this business that just lurking below the surface was something called a seller of travel laws that sit on the books in California and Florida and a few other states, where I am now suddenly considered a travel provider. Now, yes, I've now since become a travel agent, but I did that because of everything I learned about seller of travel law, which says if any resident from those states travel to your retreat, you are automatically forced to abide by their regulations. And they, first of all, it costs a lot of money to honor all of those. And if you are not already set up with the right certification and bonding and insurance and many thousands of dollars just sitting by, you can't legally do what I wanted to do. People fly under the radar. I know that, right? But I knew that I couldn't be that person. I didn't want to carry that risk. I didn't want to be somebody who I felt was out of integrity.
Yeah, that's bad juju.
It is. Yeah. It is. And so I did some research and I figured out what I needed, and I looked around and I connected with other people who I felt could really guide me. And I found a new extended family in the Nexion travel company. And so I'm a certified Nexion travel salesperson. Mm-hmm. So I'm a travel agent, but I don't call myself a travel agent, right? Mm-hmm. But I do that so that I can truly do what I love, which is design and host retreats that absolutely have exquisite travel as a core of that experience. But then I get to pour into it everything else that I know I uniquely provide. Like, that's my secret sauce, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. No, but that's so interesting to know, just because we just assume,
right? Yeah,
right.
We
just
make
go
assumptions. On a trip
assumptions.
with people. It's
right.
not a big deal. Yeah.
Right. And well, I mean, like my trip to India, but then we did go through a travel agent, even though the woman that coordinated it is from India, right? And she had all the places she wanted to go and the family. And in fact, it's funny that you mentioned this, because my husband and I were talking about that last night, about how comforting it was to know that there was people in charge that knew what they were doing.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be talking about that. I'm right now working on my third quarter marketing strategy, and it's all going to be under the title of Retreat into Bliss. And blissful travel is the first topic. And I was just writing about that last night, about how can we create and expect for ourselves a blissful travel experience, and I really keep that in the container of, the journey there and the journey home, right? Mm-hmm. And how have we come to almost expect so little in our travel experiences? And what would change
That's a good point.
if we expected and demanded more, right? How do we say, no, my travel is going to be ease. I am going to declare that this is going to be ease all the way.
And it's kind of what you were saying earlier when we first started the transformation, right? It's like, yeah, it can be fine. It can be, I mean, we just say, let it be uneventful.
Right.
Yeah. But that's limiting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you step back and think about it, that's the best I expect.
Yeah, like, please don't let anyone throw up on your car.
Yeah, I mean, just let it be uneventful when it could be blissful.
Exactly.
I mean, let's not talk about
I know. Right? Who even knew that was a possibility? My gosh.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Families all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah. And we, more often now, we're getting used to stories in the media of unruly passengers.
Oh, crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
That is not the world I stand for, right? I stand for a world where we get to travel with ease, because we know that is one way we are connecting more deeply with the world around us. Right? So let's make that happen.
That's beautiful, actually.
I love that.
I love your global thinking.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And if you put that in everything in your life, like in your car, and just how do we travel through the world blissfully, right? Just our day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. It's
all
really
of that
big
is
concept.
available at every moment. Right.
And it's all travel.
It is.
Right? I never
play.
thought about it from that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
play. So
Yeah.
let's get that play in there.
Yeah. So tell us about what people can expect in travel and play on your retreats.
Well, not only will that, the traveling to the location be filled with ease and joy. When they arrive, I am transporting them to other places truly, right? Not simply an exquisite location, say in southern France or in Seville, Spain, or any number of places I've already declared I'm creating retreats in. But to completely wrap them in this experience of the exquisite vibrancy of life. And that shows up in many different ways, right? So for southern France, it is an exploration of beauty through that essence that we know the French do so well. They just declare it every day. Life is beautiful and I'm living a beautiful life. But what does that mean for women who travel there, right? They're nestled in the most beautiful location, right? Expansive lavender fields and wineries, right? Throughout every window, right? The beautiful blue sky. How do we really go inward in that moment to find the beauty within us and express that more exquisitely, right?
And expand even the place.
Absolutely, right? And place is so necessary for that to happen.
But then the part of the beauty of travel, or the reason to travel, is then to be able to take that and bring it home.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
And
expand
so
home.
how do we take that exquisite experience and bring it home and build on what we create at home?
Great question, Sherri. Absolutely. Because so often, whether it's a travel experience, a retreat, or even a workshop, right? We experience something really fabulous, but then we know what doesn't happen is all of that then gets translated into our everyday life.
Right.
And so I'm really intentional about creating communities for the women who travel with me, and how we connect even before we travel and how we stay connected after, and to be able to keep that conversation going and talk about how are we experiencing beauty in a very different way when we return home. What does that look like?
I wanted to ask you too. So when you have people sign up for your retreats, is there like a conversation about, tell me why you want to do this? Are you willing to be transformed?
Absolutely.
Are you ready for this? Are you willing to take it, 100% in? If not, maybe wait for the next kind of thing.
Yes. In fact, somebody else said it so well just yesterday, right? I am operating something that feels like a private club instead of a public park. I am intentional about who I want to join me on these retreats, because yes, you've got to be up for the work that you get to do internally while you're traveling with us, right? I want you to be in it completely, 100%, right? This isn't for, and it happens, right? But yet it still happens, right? So as a retreat host, I'm prepared for the drama queens to show up, the people who want to get in the driver's seat,
Right.
Any number of a descriptor, right? And we can handle those, right? But having a process to talk to people ahead of time and to really do an informal interview to get to know them. Yeah, there is a right fit and there is not a right fit at times. And to be okay with that, I think, is so important.
Well, that's transformative, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would be the questions that you would ask? Like, what is that conversation like? I'm just curious. Like, how do you know that you're ready for that kind of thing? Or how do you know that they're ready?
There is something inside my gut that I just check in with, and that's where the knowing comes from, right? And so the conversations are talking about, here's the expected experience, right? Are you comfortable, traveling on multiple legs to get there, right? Ideally, I try to make it no more than 2 hops, but yet there might be times, right? If you want to go to an island in Greece, it's going to take a little bit more, right? So there's even that, the comfort with the travel component to get there. And to talk about, are you willing to do the work ahead of time so that you're adjusting your circadian rhythm to a new time zone? Because we don't want you to check out once you get there either, right? And there are ways that I design international experiences that are very different than domestic experiences because our bodies need that, right? And so there's
it's all intentional.
There's all those things. And then, are you willing to be courageous? Right? Are you willing to own the transformative piece that is possible for you if you decide to join us? And if not, great. I will reach out to you when I have something that is pure play planned, because we can do that too, right? But where somebody is being called to reach into themselves and find their beauty in ways that they haven't yet, that is the woman I want traveling with me. right? And the audacity to be playful, right? The chateau that I have for Southern France has bicycles, many of them, right? I know exactly how long it will take to bike into the local town and where the local cafe is, right? So it's all of that, right? And I've declared that I will never do a retreat without a photographer because I want the women to be able to absolutely unplug and surrender to the experience and not worry that they have to pull their phone out and record something, because that takes you out of the experience, right?
Absolutely.
And so how do I bless them with beautiful images that we're going to capture along the way that show them in their purest form, right? That's part of the magic that I create in my retreats.
Wow. Sign us up.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
And, you know, I was thinking as you were talking as well, when we were in India, right? There were a number of things that happened just through the course of a day, not like that caused us, all of my fellow travelers, to really have to search deep inside of ourselves and our beliefs and our thought processes. And it was fascinating, but it was to your point, the group of people I was with were capable of having those conversations and being fully present and owning how they felt. And it would have been a very different experience if that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a huge difference, as I hear you guys talk, there's a huge difference between a traveler and a tourist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet a traveler, you're like, oh, are you in there?
Oh,
I'm
that's
in
a
here.
really interesting
Yes.
observation,
Yeah.
I
Karen.
love
Yeah.
I love that.
So, and in your life too, right? Are you a tourist in your life? Are you traveling?
In your life. Yeah. Wow.
That is juicy. Thank you.
Write that down.
Very,
Johnny,
yeah.
write that down.
Yes, very. So what one of the things we like to ask is, what can people do today? What can people do right now today from their own home that doesn't cost them a thing? They don't have to go anywhere to get started.
Start dreaming. Start creating that expansive space in your mind. Look at pictures, right? Listen to music. Where does your soul want to go? And you can access that immediately. That's where you get to start.
And then there's so much that's available, right? On the internet, the library. I mean, you don't have to spend a dime. It's
Right.
it's all there.
Right.
Like you said, use a different spice.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Get a different recipe.
And it's really all here. Like when you really start to sort it out, it really is already there. It's sort of already in your memory or in your history somehow as well, if you really start to suss it out, when you think about that. So it's a beautiful way to live through life. And you're such a beautiful person, and we're so happy to have you here.
Yeah.
I mean, how blessed are we, Sherri?
Yes, yes.
Blessings all mine.
So how would somebody get a hold of you if they want to hear more?
Yeah, and they want to go on a
about
retreat.
Well, retreatgoddess.com is the way you get to start to see what I have to offer, and it's the best way to contact me. And I am thrilled to talk about somebody's dream, or if somebody wants to create something different with me for a group of friends, or they say, oh yeah, when my title says, hey girl, get the F to France, they say, oh yeah, that's me, sign me up. Right? All of that is possible.
Yeah.
And I just love connecting with people who really have that sense of wanderlust. And they know, like you said, they want to be the traveler and not the tourist. Yeah, those are the people that I want to serve.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's
Well, speaking of serving people, don't forget to go to www.goodfatlife.com. And thank you for being here, Julie. It's been transformative. And I guess we're going to go off and live our good fat life.
and live
Let's
our good
travel
fat
through
life.
our good fat life.
Yes. Until next week.
Until next week.
Right.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.